The story starts in the English village of Highbury in the early 1800s, where the talented and rich Emma Woodhouse was raised by her father, Mr. Woodhouse, and her governess, Miss Taylor. Miss Taylor's recent marriage upsets Emma because of the loss of such a good friend. Inspired by her success in bringing Miss Taylor and her new husband together, Emma feels it her duty to matchmake Mr. Elton with Harriet Smith, a sweet girl Emma recently met. Emma and Harriet begin to develop a close sisterly relationship. Mr. Knightley disapproves of their closeness because of Harriet's humble upbringing. Nevertheless, Emma determines to sway Harriet's feelings for a charming but poor young man toward Mr. Elton. Guided by Emma's subtle, disapproving remarks, Harriet rejects a marriage proposal from this admirer. Mr. Knightley confronts Emma, telling her that Harriet doesn't deserve the boy, let alone Mr. Elton. However, Emma continues to cause Harriet to fall for Mr. Elton. All the while, Emma has vowed to never marry, for she wouldn't leave her worrying father. Emma is perplexed by Mr. Elton's sudden lack of interest in Harriet. Soon, at a Christmas party, drunk Mr. Elton wildly professes his love for Emma and proposes to her. Confused, Emma angrily responds. Mr. Elton, frustrated and hurt, leaves town. Emma vainly attempts to turn Harriet's mind from the false love of Mr. Elton, which proves daunting when he returns to Highbury with his new fiancée. She is a proud and vulgar woman, unlike Jane Fairfax, the niece of an elderly woman in the village, who is elegant and shy. After Jane's arrival, the outgoing and handsome stepson of Mrs. Weston, Frank Churchill, enters the picture. Smitten, naive Emma believes she's in love. Suddenly, she accuses Mr. Knightley of being in love with Jane. After dreaming about Mr. Churchill for months, Emma realizes that she's truly not in love with him. At a town gathering, Emma openly insults Jane's long-winded aunt. Before leaving for vacation, Mr. Knightley takes Emma aside and rebukes her for her impolite words. Ashamed, Emma apologizes to Jane's aunt the next day. After some time, the shocking news is unveiled that Frank and Jane have been secretly engaged for over 6 months. Emma mourns for Harriet because she believes Harriet was in love with Frank. Harriet corrects Emma, telling her that she is in love with Mr. Knightley. Emma panics, thinking the idea of Mr. Knightley marrying Harriet unfathomable. While pondering this dilemma, Emma realizes that she has been in love with Mr. Knightley for some time. Horrified and exhilarated, Emma awaits the return of Mr. Knightley. Upon his homecoming, Mr. Knightley proposes to Emma, telling her that he's been in love with her for years. Emma and Harriet's relationship begins to deteriorate. Later, Mr. Knightley brings the odd news that Harriet has gotten engaged to the boy who so admired her. Ecstatic that her friend has finally found love, Emma once again resumes her correspondence with Harriet. Both rejoice in the other's good fortune, and Emma soon sees Harriet married. Emma couldn't be more content, especially following her own wedding, which was modest but full of perfect happiness. Jane Austen tells the chronologically ordered story through a third-person voice. The narrator is impartial, but the tone is happy and hopeful. The mood is bittersweet. No matter what happens, readers know there will be a happy ending.